remind you some stories making the headlines as we speak. The Ministry of Budgets and National Planning is holding a two-day economic and budgeting process retreat here in Abuja, the country's political capital. That's a retreat for today and tomorrow, having economic and technical experts from the private sector to sit down with the budgets and planning ministry officials to rub minds on the way forward. Of course, the process of 2017 budget preparation is getting underway. Meantime, it's been 365 days. That'll be tomorrow, the 11th of November, when President Buhari inaugurated his cabinet, during the first term of his administration. And that has been under the scope. What's been the performance report? The jury will be out from tomorrow. Of course, we started with tee off on that today with SBM intelligence report rating the ministers and their portfolios. Meantime, on tap for the rest of November, starting from Monday next week, will be the October inflation report from the Statistics Office, as well as the third quarter GDP numbers and the jobs creation and unemployment reports. That's quite heavy. We expect some of those data to come in just about the time that the Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee meeting will be held here in Abuja, November 21st and 22nd, for 2 days, and the decision to be read by the Central Bank Chief Governor, Godwin Emefiele. That will be the final MPC meeting for 2016. Part of the considerations will be the election of Donald Trump as the next president of the United States, who will be taking office in January. How much of this President Trump's election victory will flow into the U.S. Federal Reserve interest rate decisions in December? That will be something you don't want to miss. Meantime, the House of Representatives here says they are starting investigations into allegations that wonder banks and Ponzi schemes are rearing their ugly head in the Nigeria's marketplace. Meantime, of course, somewhere in the middle of the upper week will be the Securities and Exchange Commission's Capital Markets Committee meeting, the final one for 2016. The SCMC, the SEC will also launch a new securities market journal. The editorial board is headed by Bismarck Rawane, who is the CEO at Financial Derivatives Company. And one story that we see in the news today was that the Department of Security Services allegedly raided two bureau change operators in Lagos and Abuja. This is one story being alleged in the newspapers, being reported, asking them to fix the rate of naira-dollar in buying and sell with customers. This is one story we're following through with the Central Bank of Nigeria to confirm if these incidents actually happened. That's one story you will also find in some newspapers this Thursday. Now, sticking with the global banking industry and bringing it all home here to Nigeria, Ernst & Young a few days ago released a new report on global consumer banking, releasing what are the new thinkings and new revolution emerging behaviors of banking consumers, including technologies, what are called digital disruptions around the world. How much of this have we seen in Nigeria? Adidapo Adewale is director in charge of advisory services at Ernst & Young, and is live to us from Lagos studios. I beg your pardon, I haven't gotten Lagos out of my head. Adidapo, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yes. So, in summary, give us a sense of how this report looks at Nigeria in terms of demography, population, consumer behavior. What are the emerging trends and behaviors that we're seeing from Nigeria's consumer banking space?
Okay, first of all, let me talk a bit about the survey. Right now, the survey was administered in 32 countries. Over 56,000 customers across banks all over the world took part in the survey. It was an online survey. And in Nigeria specifically, the sample size was about 1,550 customers. We also looked at South Africa as part of looking at the region, the African region. So in terms of the objectives of the survey, it was really to understand customer attitudes, behaviors across 4 key areas. So the first thing is around trust and advocacy, which you mentioned. There's also the impact of digital disruptions. The third thing, which is also critical, is the future role of banks in Nigeria. And then the fourth thing was to basically put local, the local outcome versus the global outcome, to basically see what the differences were. Now, in terms of Nigeria, what we see that's very, very interesting is on the trust and advocacy area, Nigerians seem to be the most trusting of customers compared to, you know, the global average, as well as South Africa. And essentially the key question there is around safety of funds. Over 90% of Nigerians, you know, trust their banks because they believe their banks can keep their funds safe. Now, where they have challenges with their banks is around transparency of fees. It's around overall security of their information. It's around data privacy, and it's around the bank being able to give them unbiased advice. But in terms of a safety net for keeping funds, Nigerians have the highest level of trust globally. Now, the other thing that would be useful to mention here is understanding of the customer. I think because in this part of the world, data still remains a massive issue across a lot of banks locally. Banks do not necessarily provide tailored propositions or services to their customers, and this can be a bit frustrating. So, and that reflects in the average product holdings. Now, Nigeria has one of the lowest product holdings per customer globally. So, on the average customer has less than 2 products per bank that they deal with, which is, you know, compared to the global average, which is about 4 to 5 products. Right now, customers in Nigeria say they're willing to provide banks with information if they can use that information to serve them better. Customers in Nigeria say that banks should learn from the disruptors such as the Ubers of this world, the Airbnbs, you know, the Googles, the Facebooks of this world, and leverage, you know, the technology that they have used to provide convenience to almost raise the bar in terms of customer experience. Now, that's an area that Nigerian banks, you know, have typically struggled. And one thing, you know, we need to note here is Nigerian customers are slightly ahead of the curve. Their expectations are seemingly higher than, you know, the global peers, as well as compared to South Africa. They expect anywhere, anytime banking. They expect omni-channel banking. They expect that if they start a transaction on one channel, they should be able to end it or, you know, continue on another channel. They expect instant transfer. A lot of these things are things that are still catching on even in the Western world.
If you look at digital disruptions, Adewale, let's talk about digital disruptions here now. Technologies, since we had a GSM revolution about 16 years ago, thereabout, we've since gone a very long way from voice to data, now ruling as king in the market. We've seen mobile phones, mobile applications, we've seen